This now is the final room we're going to go through, but the most important.
This is where it all went down.
This is, you know how many fucking rock stars traipsed in and out of this room?
How many dirtbag disc jockeys walked in and out of this room?
A-holes.
No, I mean, yeah. It won't be as hard walking in as it will be leaving. So let's walk in. Wow, that was weird. It almost looks bigger.
Doesn't.
Wow, it looks a lot bigger. Holy shit.
Holy shit, man.
Huh.
Wow.
This is weird.
I'm still here. Oh, that's our porn box.
That's our porn box right there.
Oh,
All your fucking porn pictures are gone.
we used to have pictures of strippers and all kinds of stuff in that box there. We would just, hey, you want to see something?
Yeah.
We'd open that
This
up.
is what we did last weekend. Look.
There they were.
And there they were.
Yeah. There's a password to concertflashing.com.
Yeah.
Oh, let's jot that down
Yeah.
before we go. There's beef stew on the wall over
Yeah.
there, and me. There's studio guy. There's Maynard, Jesus Keenan.
Yeah.
There's B. Arthur for some reason.
We had a fascination with B. Arthur.
There's beef stew again.
Yeah.
This wall, this window
Had faces all over it.
Yeah, it was filled with
It was a faceplate.
different things. But this is where, this seems, it doesn't look the same. I mean, obviously it looks different, but it looks different. Do you know what I mean? It looks more different than different.
It's cold.
It's cold. It's not operating. You got to remember, first and foremost, this room, it operated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This thing was constantly going. So for us to come in here and nothing be going on here for the first time since we left on August 1st, it's fucked up, man. It really is. Because this room was never quiet. This room was always fucking cranking, man.
This is weird.
You know?
We used to keep a prize book in here, so whenever we took a contest winner, we'd write their info in the prize book. That's where we kept that. This is just whatever a drawer, but all the Chris H equipment was up here. These was our day boxes. So like back then, we had a paper music log and a paper log for commercials and stuff. So Mondays would go in, or I don't know if it started on Sunday.
Monday to Sunday.
Monday. Yeah, but I didn't know which one was first.
Well, no, I know because I worked weekends, so all my shit was in here, the last two.
And it goes to show, I guess there's a reason for not only the labels here, but then somebody wrote the days in here as well, so there would be no confusion.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, man. So this is the room. Now, let's think for a minute how many different bands were in this room at one time or another.
Hundreds
I
of
mean,
bands. You can't even count.
Off
How
the
many
top of
fucking
my
bands?
head, I would say Disturbed was in here. Remember David and who's the guitar player?
Disturbed, and we had Nuno Betancourt came in here and did an acoustic session with us in the studio, and then we left the studio and went over to the Rue Bar, and that night he jumped up on stage with this band. We didn't know who the fuck the band was, and he did like a 20-minute version of More Than Words.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right after. Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, Zach Wild.
Yeah.
Maynard was in here.
Oh, that's Maynard sat right where the camera is right now.
Maynard sat there.
Looked out that window while I stood there.
Yeah.
He didn't give me the time
He
of day.
wouldn't acknowledge you.
Nope. But yeah, that was a perfect circle that was in here, and that's why he was here. Def Leppard, we had Phil Collin of Def Leppard in here. Lenny Kravitz was in here.
Whitesnake was in here.
Whitesnake, yeah. Tommy Lee was in
Tommy
here.
Lee.
Yep.
Nikki Sixx was in here.
Mickey Six, yeah, man. I almost forget.
Hundreds of fucking Hatebreed was in here.
Finger 11. I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of some of the smaller bands from back. Seven Dust was in here.
Nickelback
all the
did their
time.
first acoustic radio performance right in this fucking room.
Jada Pinkett Smith was in here. Remember
Jada
with,
Pinkett Smith?
Wicked Wisdom?
Wicked Wisdom.
Seven Dust was in her a ton of times.
Seven Dust came through here a lot of times.
Non-Point.
Jackal.
You remember when Non-Point came, and Craig did, we interviewed Non-Point 1,000 times, and Craig didn't know what to do with him. And I'm not even sure what he ended up getting, but it was something like he had them create like T-shirts or something.
Yeah.
He got these shirts and he had them like
Coloring.
Yeah,
Coloring T-shirts.
So there's pictures of like the band sitting in here coloring while Craig's interviewing because he didn't know what else to do.
And we would run out of ideas to have like bands. We had like Zach Wilde in here 50 fucking times, man. So what are we gonna do different that Zach's gonna come in and want to come in? You know, I've fucking been here 100 times. So we would just invent. We had this Viking barbecue once on the back parking lot, and fucking Zach loved it.
Yep.
Loved it. Because we just ran out. We just ran the
all
mics.
loved it.
We ran the wired the mics out the window, and had an intern up here, fucking opposite the board. We were all just down here till like 4 o'clock in the morning drinking. It was live on the air.
Yeah, we had a couple of parking lot parties. Hell yeah, did
Hell
one.
yeah, I did one.
And Zach did one with Black Label.
Like I said, Jackal came in and fucking destroyed. Jesse James Dupree destroyed shit in the parking lot.
Tommy Lee destroyed like computer screens or something out there as well. And yeah.
The Deftones, we had fucking Godsmack.
Chris H did the sound for Aaron Lewis Country Boy right here. Aaron Lewis
First time
sat
he
right
ever played
in that
it.
chair.
Yep.
And we had him, he did it like what, 3 different times?
3 takes, yep.
And he engineered the sound for all 3. And the one that we ended up playing on the air was the one that he engineered and mixed, did the sound, did all that stuff. And that's the one that took off.
Yep.
And then they came out with the album version of it. So that was even before it was on an album. And he did that right here.
Every Christmas, we would have Gary Hoey come in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
In here, and he had this little drum machine and pre-recorded tracks. It was on that machine. He would come in, plug it into here, and just stand here and wail for like an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a ton of bands.
Hundreds of bands,
Yeah.
man, that came through here. And
Comedians. Raven used to have the comedians in here all the time. You know.
Craig Gass was a regular here all the time.
Craig Gass.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Remember, he opened the Godsmack luau or whatever. Was it a luau or a free rock concert?
It was a free rock concert. It was the Finger concert.
Yeah, that's right. It was Godsmack at Stage East in East Hartford. Craig Gass, a comedian, opens a rock show.
He did a couple expos for us too.
Yep. And he could pull it off. He was that kind of guy. He was that kind of comedian. But yeah, that was the night when I dislocated my finger. And I come out and my finger's pointing that way when it's supposed to go that way. And I go to Steve and I'm like, do you know what to do? He goes, oh yeah, I can take care of that. Popped it, put it right back into place just like that. I'm like, wow, that's great. You must have done that 100 times.
Never did it before in my life.
Had I known, I might have gone to the hospital, which I had to afterwards.
Yeah.
And I had to explain to the doctor, and he goes, "Oh, so your friend's a doctor, huh?" And I'm like, "No, he was just joking." But he fixed me. And yeah, a lot of stuff. When the Beard of Love was a show that we did in this room, and oh man, I don't know.
Did Wayne Manor in here for Saturday nights for fucking a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Long time. And we used to hang out that window and smoke. Because you couldn't smoke in the building. So there'd be like 3 of us hanging out the window, smoking. Yeah. We had Vanilla Ice in here, dude.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Fucking Vanilla Ice stopped by one night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When he was trying to do like a.
He was doing the
Rap
rock thing.
Yeah.
And I remember Jamie called me and said, hey, Vanilla Ice wants to pop in.
Mm-hmm.
And sure than shit, Vanilla Ice is in here.
Yeah.
We had a DJ, the DJs that were in here, Mikey D, had kidney stones, passed out cold on the air in here, was hanging out the window,
We had a few
screaming
people
for
pass
help.
out. We had a few
Craig
people
or
pass out.
Offer climb up the brick wall just as they lock themselves
Yeah,
out of the studio.
yeah, you would roll the dumpster over and you could jump off the dumpster and get back through the window and back into the studio.
If it was unlocked in here,
If it was unlocked.
you could roll the dumpster up to the window, pull yourself up, and if you
Who,
got
the
locked
most
out.
infamous for locking himself out of here, Kevin the Afternoon Guy.
Oh yeah.
He would do it like twice a month.
Wow.
He would just forget.
Without
And
smoking a cigarette.
it's not just smoking. He would even forget that he was even working. And he was like, "Oh yeah, shit! I gotta go up there and I gotta do a break." You know. Yeah.
I'd get a call a couple of times like, "Hey, dude, sorry."
Yeah.
He'd be out there in his shorts
Yeah.
and flip flops
In his Birkenstocks. In the
weather
winter.
like February. January weather in New England. Yeah, he'd be out there with his flip flops and his shorts. Didn't matter, cold, snow, whatever. He was out there. That's how he dressed. He rolled around that Jeep. Half the time he'd leave the cover off the Jeep, and I'm like, it's snowing in your car. Nah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. We used to torture the poor bastard though. We would hang shit from his back bumper, like we would take like the ketchup packets downstairs, and we would have interns take tampons and roll them into ketchup, and then we would hang them off his back bumper. So he would have like 12 of them off the back bumper. He'd be driving down the road, and some girl would pull up to him next to him, "You're a fucking pig!" And he'd be like, "Well, I do."
Radio. Oh man. You know, the first time I was in a professional radio studio was this one.
Yeah.
But it's when I was at Connecticut School of Broadcasting, as a matter of fact, and my instructor was a guy named Andy Geller, and he worked at HCN. He was Ranger Andy. And I said, "Can I come and watch you do your show one night?" He did 7 to midnight. And so he's like, "Yeah, absolutely." So I came out one night, and I stood right over here, and I watched him do his whole show, and I was like, I want to do that. You know, it's the coolest thing ever. And how weird the world turns, you know. I mean, I went to CCC, which was on South Whitney Street first, but then eventually coming to work here in this room after having, like, this was the first radio studio I was in. It was crazy. You know, it's just kind of weird how things go. And it's weird being here now, for sure. I mean,
The first time I walked into this building, I won a cassette from Litch.
What was it?
It was the Cult.
Really?
Yeah, and Litch came down and gave it to me. He literally came in from the studio, and the girl called upstairs, and he literally walked from down here down, and he met with me, and he talked to me for a little while, gave me my cassette, and I was like, man, that's a short motherfucker right there, bud.
He's my height.
Oh.
Yeah, I think Lynch and I are about the same height.
Yeah. And then ending up working with him on South
Yeah.
Whitney Street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy to think the different air
We used to have
personalities.
food in here, dude. We used to have restaurants bringing.
Oh yeah, alcohol,
Out
restaurants,
booze,
strippers,
strippers.
everything.
Oh my God, it was crazy.
Anything and everything went in this room.
It was
Yeah,
crazy.
It really did. It was crazy. Yeah. And you think of the on-air personalities that have been in this room. It's a long, long list, man.
Yeah. Even
You know?
before it was CCC, when this was HCN,
Yeah, for sure.
you know, a lot of people were in here.
I used to drive by when we were at CCC. I would drive by the building and be like, man, that would be because our building is South Whitney Street.
Oh,
I love
shit.
CCC, and we were the underdogs. We always have been. Just like I feel we are at iRock Radio. We're like the underdogs, and you know, that was always cool. But I would drive by and be like, man, it'd be cool to broadcast from that place one day, you know. And I used to think, Contra Kid is lucky. That little shit's in here broadcasting, you know, every day from this building, and we're over there in a factory or whatever it was.
No, it was a drug den. It was a fucking crack den
It
down
was
there, man.
That was a rough building.
It was.
Yeah.
But the first night we were here, we flicked the switch at nights, and Raven was on at night, and we set the fucking tone immediately.
Oh, yeah.
We were hammered, first and foremost. We were cocked.
We set the tone in radio because we were cocked.
All the business people left. They were all gone, and it was just all the jocks up here, and we were on for like 24 hours. Nobody left. It was just, it was a great time in radio, man.
Yeah, and it's kind of, you know, it's reminiscent, unfortunately, of our last day here.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, think about it. We went out the same way we came in. That was a big party, and it was kind of an unplanned party because the way it went down here, as far as I'm concerned, not as far as I'm concerned, but the way it went down for me was 2 days prior to us signing off, the owner asked me to meet him off property. And so I met him and one of our vice presidents, and he said, we're selling the radio station. And he said, as of 5 o'clock Friday afternoon, everyone's out of a job and it's over. And usually, you know, when a radio station is sold, you go through ownership change and you have an opportunity to maybe apply to the next station. You think they're going to keep it a rock station and you got a shot, you know, at least give you a chance. But in this scenario, there was no chance because we're selling to a Christian station that really has, you can see, this is their radio station. There's nobody here. There's not even equipment here. So I don't know the particulars of it, but there are no Connecticut employees as far as on staff, as the air staff or any of that stuff. So there was no chance of any of us being rehired with the new company. And knowing the format, I don't think any of us wanted to work with the new company. But he said we're signing off Friday at 5, and to his credit, he said, I'm going to give you an opportunity to do a last show. And that never happens in radio. You know, usually you do your show and you go see the vice president and they're like, thank
Bye-bye.
you, but you're done.
Good luck in your future endeavors.
Right, you don't get to say goodbye. And so to his credit, he let us have at it. And he said, do what you want to do. You know, he put his trust in me and the staff that we were going to do the right thing. And
We didn't.
And we didn't, but that's the right thing.
And that's the right thing.
Not
for
doing
us.
the right thing was the right thing.
We went out the way we came in.
We did, and so I spent that was a Wednesday. I spent Thursday just lining up any guests that I could think of that would be, important to have on the air, whether it was a musician. I mean, we had Stained, Shinedown, we had, Howard Stern, we had, a bunch of personalities from the past. Obviously, we couldn't get everybody on the air. There was a ton. I mean, Craig the porn star, I felt awful. He was so much a part of our family, I couldn't even get him on the last day, So, but we turned it into a party, and it was funny because when it started, when we did the video in the beginning, and I'm down in that corporate office down there where we all got our pink slips, I went from there to here, and it was like, wow, I'm actually unemployed now, but I'm going to go do this show for 5 hours with all these guests. Yeah. And I remember just at that point realizing, who gives a fuck? Let's do whatever we want. Because I will say, I was told to continue playing classic rock.
Yeah, that didn't last. I remember I was home and it was noon because I wanted to listen to the Stern thing, and we had talked about it a couple days earlier, and I heard the classic rock after the Stern thing, but then I heard Rage Against the Machine, and I said, I got in my car and I drove like fucking 90 here because I said, we're gonna get thrown in jail because the new people are gonna hear it because we flipped the switch, went back to doing what we were doing. I said, I gotta get the fuck over there because we gotta get one last shot at
Get there
this.
before it's done.
And they were cool about it and fucking.
I think the first song though was For Whom the Bell Tolls by Metallica.
Yeah. But
Just
once
sound
I
of
heard
those
that, I
bells.
was like, I gotta get over there.
Yeah.
Because the end is definitely there.
But we got Rage in there, we got Alice in Chains. I mean, we went back. What we're playing at iRock Radio is what we played that last day because it's what this station, the heart and soul of this station, the Rock 106.9 WCCC, was all that music. And all the stuff that came with it was a product of the music. If it wasn't for the music, the lifestyle stuff never would have happened.
Right.
It was the music first, everything else second. So we couldn't go out playing
Joe Walsh
Sticks and Supertramp and whatever. I mean, they are what they are, but it's not how this station should have gone out. So, so to come up here and do that. But I remember standing here and the room, I remember saying, I invited listeners to come down. I said, this is your radio station. Come on down and hang out. And they did.
Parking lot was filled.
Yeah, we had a full parking lot. Cars were pulling in, parking everywhere, people hanging out. And then from that moment on, it's all a blur to me. It's like the interviews, I sat there with the machine and just like playing back interviews, taking calls, playing those back, having people.
Anything.
Oh, it was so loud in here because the room got full of air staff, obviously, salespeople, friends, clients, everybody. This room was full of people. And it got so loud in here that I remember turning the volume up as loud as I could, and I still couldn't hear what we were playing. Right. So I had to put my headphones on because without it, I would not have known what was going on air. It was insane.